Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're going to be looking at how you can use data science to make a real difference in the lives of the citizens you serve.
Sounds good.
We've got this fantastic article titled "The Growing Importance of Data Science in Government Policy" to guide our deep dive today.
Yeah.
And it's full of really great examples of how cities are already using data to tackle some pretty huge challenges.
It is. It's exciting to see how data science is moving from, the realm of theory into practice, especially in the public sector.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's start with the basics. What exactly is data science, and how does it go beyond just, crunching numbers? I think a lot of people hear data science and they're kind of like, oh,
Right. Yeah, it can sound intimidating, but really data science is about using a combination of statistics, machine learning, and analytics to extract valuable insights from data. So it's about finding those hidden patterns and trends that can help us make better decisions.
okay. So it's not just about having a ton of data. It's about knowing how to ask the right questions and then using the right tools to find the answers.
Exactly. It's about turning raw data into actionable intelligence. And for public servants, that intelligence can be incredibly powerful.
Okay, so let's talk about some real-world examples. The article mentions New Orleans using data science to combat crime. How'd they do that?
Well, they use something called predictive modeling, which essentially means using historical data to forecast future trends. So in this case, New Orleans analyzed past crime data to identify patterns and predict where future crime hotspots might emerge.
So they're essentially using data to anticipate where crime is most likely to occur.
Exactly. And by strategically deploying police officers to those predicted hotspots, they were able to significantly reduce crime rates.
That's a fantastic example of how data can be used to make communities safer. I think this is something that would resonate with a lot of our listeners, especially those working in law enforcement or public safety.
Absolutely. And it's not just about crime prevention. Data science is being used to improve all sorts of public services.
Yeah, the article also mentions San Francisco using data to improve traffic flow. Can you tell us more about that?
Sure. So San Francisco used data on vehicular movement to optimize their traffic signals by analyzing traffic patterns. They were able to adjust signal timings to reduce congestion and shorten commute times.
That's something I think we can all appreciate who hasn't been stuck in traffic and wish there was a better way.
Right. And it's amazing to think that something as simple as adjusting traffic lights based on data can have such a big impact on people's daily lives. It makes you wonder what other everyday problems could be solved with a data-driven approach.
It really does. These examples are so inspiring. They show how data science can be used to address real-world problems and make a tangible difference in people's lives.
Exactly. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. There are so many other ways that data science can be used to improve public services and make governments more efficient and effective.
Okay, now I'm really intrigued. Let's dive into some of those other applications.
One area where data science has just huge potential is in helping you as public servants understand the potential impact of policies before they're implemented.
Okay, that sounds incredibly useful, like you're getting a sneak peek into the future.
It is, in a way, think of it as running a simulation to see how different policy choices might play out.
So instead of just hoping for the best, you can use data to make more informed decisions. That's a game changer.
Exactly. Machine learning can help you model those what-if scenarios, for instance. You could use it to estimate how a new healthcare initiative might impact public health outcomes or how changes to the tax code might affect different income groups.
This could be so valuable for policymakers. I imagine it could help them avoid unintended consequences and make sure their policies are really serving the people they're intended to help.
Absolutely. And it can also help you identify potential challenges early on so you can address them proactively.
This all sounds incredibly promising, but I'm sure there are also challenges and potential pitfalls when it comes to using data in government.
You're right. Data-driven governance isn't a magic bullet.
So what are some of the things we need to be cautious about? What are the potential downsides?
Well, one of the biggest challenges is ensuring the data you're using is accurate and complete. You can't make good decisions based on bad data.
That makes sense. Garbage in, garbage out, as they say.
Exactly. So data quality is paramount. Another crucial consideration is protecting citizen privacy and ensuring data is used ethically and responsibly.
Yeah, that's a really important point. We need to make sure that as we embrace data-driven approaches, we're not compromising people's rights or creating new forms of inequality. Data should be used to empower citizens, not exploit them.
I couldn't agree. More transparency and accountability are essential when you're using data to inform decisions. It's important to be open about how you're using it and why.
So it's not just about having the data, it's about using it in a way that builds trust and strengthens our democracy.
Exactly. And that involves engaging with the community, being open to feedback, and constantly evaluating the impact of your data-driven initiatives.
All of this makes a lot of sense, but I know some of our listeners might be feeling a bit overwhelmed. It can feel like a big leap to go from traditional ways of doing things to this whole new world of data-driven decision-making.
I understand that feeling, but it's important to remember that you don't need to become a data scientist overnight. There are lots of resources and training programs available to help public servants develop the skills they need to work effectively with data.
So it's more about gradually building up your data literacy and finding ways to integrate data into your existing workflows.
Exactly, and it's about fostering a culture of curiosity and data-driven thinking within your organization.
That sounds much more manageable. What would you say is a good first step for someone who's just starting to explore data-driven approaches? Where should they begin?
I think one of the most powerful things you can do is simply start asking data-driven questions instead of relying on assumptions or gut feelings. Challenge yourself to look for the data that can inform your decisions.
Can you give us some examples of what those questions might look like?
Absolutely. Let's say you're working in public transportation and you're trying to improve bus service in a certain area. Instead of just adding more buses, you could ask, what does the data tell us about ridership patterns on this route? Where are the biggest bottlenecks? Are there specific times of day or days of the week when demand is particularly high?
So it's about using data to really understand the problem before jumping into solutions.
Precisely. And once you have that data, you can start to develop much more targeted and effective interventions.
This is so practical. It feels like something anyone can start doing right away, regardless of their technical expertise.
Exactly. It's about shifting your mindset and embracing a culture of data-informed decision-making.
I love that. So even if you're not a data scientist, you can still use data to be a more effective and impactful public servant.
Absolutely. And as you start asking those data-driven questions, you'll naturally start to identify areas where you might need to develop your skills or seek support from data experts.
This has been an incredibly insightful conversation. I think our listeners are starting to see how data science can be a powerful tool for positive change in their communities. But before we wrap up, I want to hear your final thoughts. What's one provocative idea you'd like to leave our listeners with, something that will spark their imagination and maybe even inspire them to take action?
Well, I think a lot of us, get stuck in our routines and ways of doing things, and it's easy to forget that there might be a better way, a more data-driven way to approach the challenges we face every day.
Yeah.
We often make assumptions based on limited information or anecdotal evidence, but data can help us see beyond those assumptions and challenge our own biases. It can reveal hidden patterns and connections that we might never have noticed otherwise.
So your provocative thought is to really encourage our listeners to question those assumptions and look for opportunities to use data to gain a fresh perspective.
Yeah, exactly. Think about a specific challenge that you're facing in your work right now. It could be anything. Maybe you're trying to improve access to affordable housing or reduce wait times at the DMV or make sure parks and recreation facilities are meeting the needs of your community.
I can see where you're going with this. You want our listeners to ask themselves, how could I use data to understand this issue better and come up with more innovative solutions?
Exactly, and don't be afraid to think outside the box. What kind of data could you collect? Where could you find existing data sets? How could you analyze that data to gain new insights? The answers might surprise you.
That's a great call to action. I think this deep dive has really opened our eyes to the possibilities of data-driven governance. It's not just about technology or algorithms, it's about using data to make better decisions, solve complex problems, and ultimately make a real difference in the lives of the people we serve.
Well said, and remember, the journey to data-driven governance. It starts with a single step. Don't be afraid to experiment, to learn to collaborate. There's a whole community of public servants out there who are eager to share their knowledge and experience.
This has been such an inspiring conversation. Thank you so much for sharing your insights and expertise with us today.
It was great to be here.
And to our listeners, thank you for joining us on the Deep Dive. We hope you've gained some valuable insights and are feeling energized to explore the power of data in your own work. Remember, data can be a powerful force for good, and it's up to all of us to harness that power to create a better future for our communities.